Hello everyone, this is Just a Dad. Today I'm going to show you how to descale your Mr. Coffee Tea Café. So this is a really nice tea maker. If your tea is not tasting as good as it used to, or if it's not brewed to the right strength, or if your tea maker is starting to sound really loud and taking a long time, those are all signs it's time to descale. So these Mr. Coffee tea makers have a heating element inside here like a coffee maker. And just like we have to descale coffee makers, we have to descale Mr. T tea makers with distilled white vinegar. So if you've got soft water, you need to do this about every 80 brew cycles. If you have really hard water, it's about every 40 brew cycles. So you can get this big jug of distilled white vinegar for $1.50 at Walmart. The first thing we're going to do is make sure we've got our basket in here, but we're not going to put any tea or filter or anything. Just make sure it's in there. Then you're going to need 4 cups of vinegar. It calls for 1 quart, but 1 quart equals 4 cups. So this is pure vinegar. Just pour the pure vinegar. There's 2 cups. Now I can pour this right into the water reservoir, but I want to show you, in case you don't have a measuring cup, I'm going to show you how much it is in here. So it's right at the water line. So right below it just a little bit. So basically fill this up with pure vinegar right to the water line. Then you're going to dump it in right where the water goes. Oops, got it all over. Okay. Now we're going to put our lid back on. Again, remember with this one, it doesn't matter where the Brew Strength selector is, but make sure you rotate this. Okay, now make sure that is pointed there because there's a little recessed area for that. And just slide it right there. It's nice and flush. It's plugged in. So now you're simply going to come over here and hit the brew. Now it does kind of stink when it brews that vinegar, so make sure you got a little bit of ventilation. But it's going to brew that pure vinegar through here, clean that heating element. Got a little ahead of myself. You're supposed to put some ice in here so that when the hot vinegar comes out, it doesn't shock this glass. So now that I've got my ice in here, we're going to put this back and turn it back on. Now, if you're in a hurry, you can just brew the vinegar straight through the machine and then do your water rinses. That takes about 45 minutes, 30 minutes to 45 minutes. But if your tea maker hasn't been descaled for a while, or if it's in pretty bad shape, what they want you to do is let it run for a little bit. So right now we've got a full reservoir. Let it run down to about halfway. Then they want you to unplug it. And what's that called is soaking. So when you unplug it, it stops the vinegar from being brewed through the machine, but it allows the heating element to be soaking in that vinegar. And then when you plug it back in after 30 minutes, it's going to heat that vinegar back up and probably break some more of the minerals loose from that heating element. So it is, if you have the time, that is the best way to do it. But if you don't have the time, you can just run the vinegar straight through the machine, and then we'll do our fresh water rinses. Okay, so mine's finishing up brewing that vinegar. It'll turn off automatically when it's done. Okay, so I dumped the vinegar out. Now I'm going to wash this with soap and water and then fill it up to the water line with fresh water. Be careful, this can still be hot. But we need to wash this with soap and water. Both of these, brew basket and this. Get all that vinegar off of here. We're going to wash these with soap and water, then reinstall them. Okay, so now we've got everything cleaned up. We've got everything reinstalled. We're going to leave that empty. Just leave the filter basket net in there, but nothing else. Now we're going to do fresh water rinses. Pour your fresh water. Again, I didn't show you, but I filled this up to the water line like I was going to brew a pot of tea. So I filled it up to the water line with just fresh water. And we're going to pour it in here. Okay. Put our lid on. Oh, and one other thing. So you got to put ice in the bottom of this or cold water. They don't want that hot water impacting this glass. It could cause it to break. So I'm out of ice, so I got to put some cold water down here. So again, I just put some cold water in here. I'm out of ice. You're going to slide this in. Okay, make sure this is turned over here. Everything's installed, the brew head. We've got fresh water in here, and we're going to turn it on. Now what this is going to do, this is going to rinse that vinegar that's inside the machine still. We need to do 2 to 3 of these fresh water rinses. And each time I kind of wash everything up, get it all nice and clean, and then I add my fresh water. Make sure you put some water down here each time so that the hot water is not impacting the glass. It could cause it to break. Ice works best, but again, if you're out of ice, just use some cold water. If you still have kind of a vinegar taste, wash everything again and just do maybe another fresh water rinse. Thanks everybody for watching, and if you could, please like and subscribe.